Alright, welcome everyone. What I'm doing here today for this customer is just a routine oil change, and he also asked that I check to see if there's a rock stuck in his brake rotor. And the interesting thing is that this has happened before, which is kind of weird. Sometimes, rocks can get stuck between the dust shield that's behind the rotor and, kind of grinds on the brake rotor. But that wasn't the case. I looked back there, and you'll see here me here in a bit, trying to see if I could kind of get that. If I got lucky, if it would shake out. But not. So what I'm doing there, I'm reaching behind the rotor to see if I can put some pressure on the dust shield, see if maybe I'll get lucky and a pebble will fall out. And so yeah, that's what I'm working on. I gotta go grab my creeper. Just thought I'd do a shout out here, product recognition. If you want the best jack you can get your hands on, the Napa 3.5 ton standard profile jack, hands down the best jack I've ever had. And I learned this fact from Sensei Jason when I was right out of college. In the shop I worked at, we had all the jacks you could think of: Snap-on, Cornwell. We had the fancy jacks that had super long reach, and none of them lasted. They would work well, and then they would leak, they would creak, they'd pop. But the old Napa jack remained tried and true. So now, obviously it's got the standard lift profile. There's the extra long arms out there. Maybe some are a 4-ton, blah blah blah. But one thing that you oftentimes fail to take into account is the force required to pull down or push down on the jack arm to raise it. And I don't know what Napa does or whoever makes their jacks, but it is like the amount of weight you could lift. It's like the easiest amount of effort, and it doesn't take like a crazy, it jacks up in the standard amount of time. So anyway, that's my shameless product plug for the day. So anyway, after jacking up the car and realizing this pebble's not coming out, and I didn't get a chance to road test it before I got going on this, I decided, well, all right, I'm gonna swing back around at the for this pebble issue, and I'll put that on the back burner for a minute and get cruising away on the oil change. Grabbing my wrenches and oil filter wrenches and my little drain pan there. I always feel like I gotta apologize in all my videos. I did not realize how loud my breathing is, whether it's through my nose or my mouth. I don't know what's wrong with me. And there I am, double checking, make sure I was trying to turn the wrench the correct way. Because I'm looking at the back side of it, it's righty loosey, lefty tighty. Figured I might as well get a little bit of double time action while that oil's draining out the rest of the way. You can get the oil filter drained out, drop down, draining out on the little drain pan. I also got to give a shout out to, I believe the company is Flow Tool. That's who makes this catch can. It's kind of nice. You'll get a better picture of it or here in a little bit when I clean off the top part towards the end of the oil change. But this container holds 24 quarts of oil, which is really good. And it's designed to, it's got that, you can see around the very bottom right corner, it's got that nice pour spout for draining the oil out. One thing I do want to mention here real quick, some time ago, Napa, their oil filters changed on some of them. I don't know if all of them. The O-ring is different, and instead of a square seal type O-ring, it's kind of a rounded style, and I think you can tell basically if the if it's a round, if the O-ring looks round, then the instructions, basically what will happen is the oil filter, when you tighten it down, it'll tighten down, then it'll just kind of bottom out. And they say that is, if I remember correctly, that is normal. That's to be expected. Whereas a square steel or a square style O-ring, those can kind of keep compressing, and you can really tighten it down. And I'm just going to say this, well, the people out there who are still putting oil filters on dry without oiling them, you can go fly a kite, pound sand. But you know what? I was the last guy to change oil in this car, so losing the oil filter wasn't too hard. Always remember, folks, when you're putting the drain plug on, the drain plug only has to hold back the gravity of the oil. It's not like an oil filter or a oil pressure switch that has to hold back the oil pressure, upwards of 50, 60, 70 psi. It's literally just a drain plug that's holding back 4.5 quarts of oil against gravity. While I was under here, I did notice this back corner of the engine was leaking oil. Just thought I'd check. Looked like it was actually leaking from the power steering pump. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't something from the engine, but I did tell the customer it was the power steering pump. And always the oil funnel just barely doesn't work. And this one almost barely didn't work. Man can never have too many funnels. Customer provided his own parts for the oil change, and it's a high mileage Honda. It's about 220,000 miles, so he likes to use this thick, gooey STP oil treatment. Don't know a whole lot about it, but it's thick. Does not flow out very well. So let gravity kind of help hold down whatever is left over in the bottle. When I say thick, it's like molasses level thick. As you can see, I had to squeeze it out. So I like to do that first, that way I kind of use the engine oil to kind of wash down the funnel. Shout out Napa Auto Parts. I did work for them when I was in college. It's a good time. Anyway, there's the top of the oil drain pan. You can see where it has that big red lid. That can kind of seal up where the oil, drains inside. I've got one of these also for coolant. It's got that little, by the right where you see where the big red cap is, right above that, there's a little tiny air vent that makes it nice, so the oil, drains into the drain pan really nice. Now, of all the oil dipsticks out there, Honda sees fit to make theirs completely out of plastic. It's always good to get familiar with your dipstick and where the readings are. Some use a hash mark, some use two holes to indicate the range. Here I am grabbing my oil change stickers. It's a little bit more of a manual process. I just found these oil change stickers off Amazon. So far they've been working really good. And then I grabbed a kind of a generic label maker from Walmart. And I know you can buy some of these hoity-toity label makers that specifically are for oil change stickers, but boy, are they expensive. Here, sticker says 220, 400 miles. My customer is right at 220 and 464 miles. So, right on time. Good for him. That's the number one thing I can recommend to anyone. Change your oil on time. Every time. Now here I'm going for a drive just to confirm what that rock sound is. You're going to hear it here shortly. So what it ended up, and somehow this happened last time. I don't know if it's the way the dust shield is designed, so it allows for a rock to get flipped up in there, but it can't get out. But essentially, the rock gets stuck inside of the hat of the rotor. You can see right there, that's right where the rock was hanging out in that little cavity in there. So not between the dust shield and the rotor. So what was happening is as you get driving, the centrifugal force of the rotor keeps the rock kind of stuck up against the wall, and then as you slow down, it'll start to tumble in there, and that's what the tinging sound. So that little rock creates all sorts of noises. I'm off to join his other little rock family, cause havoc for somebody else. Felt pretty strange to get hot enough to need to take my jacket off on February 2nd in Rexburg, Idaho. What a weird non-winter. Some of the guys I work with were joking about. The groundhog said we got 6 more weeks of winter, and somebody says, can we have 6 more weeks of winter if we haven't even started winter? So, that was one downside about my little mobile setup is every time I use my jack, I gotta puff it up into the back of the truck. I gotta put it into one of those interesting airbag jacks, but I need some sort of air source, like an air compressor I can utilize. So something for another time when I'm tired of doing that. Gotta do some heavy lifting every now and then. Anyway, that's all for this. Got that all taken care of. This is another job I did right afterwards. Customer complaint was all the air speeds, but the highest work on the blower. Now, one nice tip I have for you If you ever find yourself having a problem like that, it's always good to specify that in detail what the problem is. Because when you say, I don't have any heat, that's a common way that customers have phrased this, and what I just unplugged is the blower motor resistor. That you can see right there, see that little dark pin? That pin has burned. It's gotten so hot. The reason why it gets so hot is because the blower motor is worn out enough, it starts drawing too many amps, too much current. What I'm doing here is sometimes get a little bit of wiggle on the plug. Sometimes it'll make the other speeds start to work, but it looks like I think they've all failed. But anyway, back to what I was saying about explaining to the customer, to your mechanic what's going on. You want to specify the lack of airflow or heat. Anyway, that's all. Thanks, guys. We'll see you around next time.